Sydney Swans are the next club on our AFL club-by-club draft analysis. We know they've got a bevy of academy talent that they will likely want to match a bid for this year, but are they going to be able to fit them all in? We probably think that they won't, and they also have some other list needs that we think they'll need to address. Stay tuned to find out what they are. We'll move on to Sydney now. So they've got picks 9, 27, 45, and 63. All of those their own selections. So essentially where they finish on the ladder will just dictate whether that moves up. They probably won't move up. It won't move down one rather, because they won't move up on the ladder, you wouldn't think, but it could move down a couple. The academy players that they've got ties to: Max King, Lockie Carmichael, Harry Kyle, Caden McNamara, Noah Chamberlain, that are in draft consideration. They've got 2,038 points that they've got to match for those players. The interesting one will be whether a bid comes for Max King before that first selection, if indeed the Swans hang on to that first selection.
Yeah, it's fascinating for the Swans to probably assess where they're at with their own list. So last year, run to the grand final, but it was almost a season of two halves. So first half of the year, dominant, or not dominant, but winning a lot of games, maybe marginally overperforming. Then they fell away. They copped that thumping to Port late in the year, then lost the grand final heavily, weren't super in the finals. They got out of jail against the Giants, beat a banged-up Port. And then obviously this year, injuries have torn them apart in many respects. So they've got to make those decisions. They obviously had the coaching transition as well. So do they still feel that this group, if it got a decent run of injuries, is a potential top four list? Or do they lean towards them having overachieved the year before, and this is closer to where they're at, lower rungs of the 8, like they were the year before in 2023? And then that obviously dictates what they do. I mean, their top echelon talent, Goulden, missed most of the year. Heaney, midfield forward option. Yep. Warner, does he stay, does he go long term? Then you look at what's perceived to be a weakness and has been in finals, which is key position forwards.
Yep.
Amati has talent, but a bit inconsistent. McDonald gets injured a little bit. McLean, primarily a ruckman, but has turned into a forward who can be of some use for them. Yep. Aaron Francis, a recycled player that, in and out of the side. Yep. So, and then they've got to assess if they're looking at that key position prospect.
Yep.
Do they go young, knowing that would take time to develop? Yep. They're not an old group, but obviously their core midfielders are getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
Or would they need to target a key forward from somewhere else, like Jamara Ugle-Hagan, for example, who they've been linked to, and then go back to looking at some of these homegrown academy prospects? So, I think Sydney face a really fascinating conversations about how close they think they are to a flag, and then that dictates what they do.
List decisions thereafter. I think that's really well summed up. Probably just worth touching on some other players that they've got on their list that are a little bit younger and less experienced. They've got Will Green as that backup ruck that they drafted a couple of years ago. So how have they seen his development, and will that impact some of the decisions they make? They've got Patrick Snell and Ryak Andrew as well as players who are untried. Ryak Andrew currently serving a suspension, but they'll have a good idea of where they sort of view that trio, or where they view that trio will partially, I guess, dictate, like you talk about, what they do. And I guess the other thing to weigh up here is they've got those medium forward type options that Max King seems to fit perfectly into. So how they look to intertwine him into the side in the medium to long term, and also potentially any premiership push, is going to be quite fascinating, because they've got plenty of that type of player already, but he's clearly too good a talent to pass up. Yeah,
and I mean, they've experimented at the start of the year with some of their key backs forward, like McCartan, but you look at the age profiles of, say, Rampy and Grundy, who are a couple of guys that will obviously need replacing sooner rather than later.
Yep.
They do have a lot of very good running options. Like, it feels like they've got multiple, say, wing, half-back flank, half-forward flank type players.
Yep.
And a lot of natural talents. So it's a curious one. I certainly think height has to be some sort of a focus.
Yep.
But obviously height can take time. So
do they do it via free agency and trade?
Yeah. Are they prepared to wait and endure whatever that needs to be. So I think if that, it'd be height more of a pressing issue than run for mine.
Yeah, and I think just on that, Lockie Carmichael, again, offers that run, and he's the Allies MVP. And I think what's worth noting about Lockie Carmichael is, as much as that run and dash is really impressive, and it's what catches the eye about him, we saw in the AFL Academy game, and we've seen it at times probably sporadically for the Sydney Swans Academy and also through the national championships. He's got the ability to lock down quite well, and he's quite hard to beat one-on-one because he's got that strength pound for pound, so he can lock down small forwards. Where Sydney see him in the long term is quite interesting because we know he went through the midfield for the Allies. He's probably in defence somewhere, but is he that deeper defender initially, given that they've got the run, and then he becomes that player that is able to show his flair once he's been at the club for a few years?
Yeah, they're almost the most fascinating side. They're usually very aggressive in a trade sense. So I would expect that draft position might even change, as you say now, based on ladder 9, 27, mid-40s, mid-60s. As to whether they get involved in a few things to try to manoeuvre that around. Obviously, they're going to have to play with points. So, they're a massive watch.
And just worth touching on, they've got Harry Kyle, Caden McMurray, or Chamberlain as well. But it probably circles back to our first point in terms of our draft stock take, that you are going to see naturally players who are tied to clubs get passed by clubs simply because you can't draft all of them.
No, that's right.
Gold Coast and Sydney are probably the two best examples of that. So, that'll be a fascinating one. You'd think King and Carmichael get prioritised just given their natural talent best available, as you talk about. But, they've got those three others to weigh up as well.